Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet, President of Speedway Town Council. Today is January the 9th, 2023, and it's 7 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. First on the agenda, I'd like the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead and introduce our council and members. From my far right, Grant Kleinhens, our town manager.
Good evening.
Next to Grant, on his left, is Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Good evening.
Next to Eileen is David Lindsay, Councilor.
Good evening.
My far left, town attorney, Bob Clutter.
Good evening.
Next to Bob is Jacob Bladesdale, town clerk treasurer.
Good evening.
Next to Jacob, we got Councilor Gary Rakes.
Good evening.
And next to, on my left, direct left, is Councilor Gary Pedigo.
Hello.
First on the agenda is the minutes, approval of these minutes of the December 28th, 2022 meeting. These minutes have all been distributed to council. If there's no corrections or changes, we'll approve the minutes as submitted. Hearing none, I'll go and approve the minutes as submitted. Next on the agenda is boards and commission appointments. And I think first on that list is for the arts.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to nominate Katrina Patterson to the Arts Commission. Also move that we close the nominations.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Vote for approval of Katrina Patterson for the Arts Advisory Council. Signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion approved. Next item is the Solid Waste Management Board. Do we have any appointments to take into consideration?
Not hearing any, I'll nominate Eli Hendry
Okay.
and
You make a motion.
not hearing any, I'll
Recommend they be closed.
recommend that we close nominations.
Okay. So we got Eli Henry for a position in solid waste management. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion, Eli is approved 5-0. Okay. Finally is the Fire Merit Board. Do we have any members for the Fire Merit Board?
Go ahead, Gary. You're doing well.
Okay. I'll nominate Jared Allen for the Fire Merit Board. And not hearing or seeing anybody else looking to nominate anybody else, I'll move that we close the nominations.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving Jared Allen for the Fire Merit Board, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Jared is approved 5-0. Okay. Any other boards and commissions? Having none, we'll move on to item 4, a report from the Comprehensive Plan Consultant, American Structure Point. Thank you.
So this evening, we have Philip Roth from the consulting team here to share a quick update on the ongoing process of the comprehensive plan.
Good evening. Emphasis on quick. Is this on?
Yes.
Yes. Again, my name is Philip Rothman with American Structure Point. Thank you for having me this evening. We were selected by the town last year to update, or actually not to update, to develop the town's first comprehensive land use plan. We are approaching the end of the process, so it was timely to come to you and tell you a little bit of what's going to be coming up over the next few months. We have had, well, let me tell you where we've been, first of all. We've had quite a bit of public interaction. We had a lot of public meetings last summer. We had a survey last summer. We've been working with stakeholder groups throughout your community, and we've been working with a review team on an ongoing basis. Both Mr. Lindsay and Mr. Rakes are on that committee. So we're grateful for their participation, as well as several key members of staff. So in the next few months, we're going to be submitting some of the high-level content to the Office of Community and Rural Affairs for review. Recall that your plan is partly being funded by OKRA, and therefore they have to review it to make sure that it's in keeping with their requirements. We're planning on getting them a high-level draft, make sure that everything's consistent next week. And then we're going to be doing a second round of public involvement. We haven't yet worked out all the details, but in February and March, coming out with some of the high-level policies and land use recommendations that the plan has come up with. So I do have a pamphlet, and actually it's the PowerPoint that is in hard copy format, and I don't know what the appropriate language is. May I approach the dais or whatever? So the
Absolutely.
bench. Oh, Grant's going to keep me from doing that. Okay. At any rate, this kind of gives you some of the main talking points about the comprehensive plan. And we had a review team meeting just this afternoon, and so some of the outcomes from that meeting obviously are not included here. But we're looking forward to kind of the next steps. Now, to let you know what those next steps are, after the public involvement and after OKRA gives us any kind of advisory recommendations to make sure that we're consistent with their requirements, we will be going through a process of vetting the plan for final adoption. Eventually, that will involve an adoption by resolution by you, the town council, to formally adopt it. We expect tentatively that that's going to take place in late March or April. How much feedback you want to give on the plan is entirely up to you. Knowing that you have two members on the review team, you can give your feedback to them, or we can arrange some alternate discussions on any issues you deem of importance. At any rate, I'm just letting you know that there's going to be quite a bit of activity over the next couple of months. I didn't want you to be caught off guard by that, nor did I want you to be unaware that we will be bringing something to you for adoption in the near future. So, are there any questions?
So are you on schedule when you first started this?
We started late because we didn't want to start before Memorial Day, obvious reasons. And then the holidays kind of threw us a little bit off. Usually a comprehensive plan takes 9 months from start to finish. So when you consider that process, we've kept the schedule pretty well, but the late start has had a little bit of an impact.
Okay.
I don't know if Dave would add anything. I mean,
No, I was just going to say, your however many minute talk that was does not truly show how much time and effort you and the committee and everyone has put into it. Looking forward to the finished product. I know it's still work in progress. Appreciate your time tonight, and just a couple minutes that you shared does not even come close to describe how much work you and the rest of your people that are working with you are putting in. To this. Greatly appreciate it.
I'd agree with that. I think, in short, it reminded me a little bit of the redevelopment process that we started with 15 plus years ago when we developed the master plan, not to that level of detail. We spent hundreds, maybe thousands of man hours on that. But there was great participation by residents in addition to the staff. David and myself really tried to listen and allow the residents and business people from large employers to individual proprietorships to participate, and they did a great job of sharing.
And for my part, I've been very pleased by the participation and leadership that we've been getting from the town. So that has helped make it a successful project, and I hope that we follow through in keeping with that over the next few months.
Can you just let the public know how large a team that you've had working on this project?
Our review team has about 15 members, 16 members. We've interviewed close to 40 stakeholders from all over the community, the business, not-for-profit, neighborhood associations, the IMS. And we've had public meetings last summer at several venues. Cheryl was the one who kind of arranged all of that for us. I'm not putting you on the spot, Cheryl. Sorry about that. And we had a public survey that we put out. And I have to tell you, the survey had the highest number of responses that we've ever had in a public survey of this type. We had close to 550 people who took their time to fill out a 10-minute survey on the internet, which is no mean feat, and get us their comments. So we've been very pleased with the public involvement and the stakeholder involvement that we've had.
Great. Any other questions for him? No, continue the great work and look forward to, like David said, look forward to the finished product.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next is ordinance 1370. Jacob?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is an amendment to the salary ordinance, which of course we just passed in December, but there's a couple of changes that we've needed to make. Probably the most significant is when we passed the salary ordinance the first time, the contract with the fire department had not been finalized yet. The final version of that included some increases for what we call stack pay. So there's kind of the base of a first class firefighter, then for different kind of additional responsibilities and rank. So, battalion chief, captain, lieutenant, there's kind of an addition on top of that, the base pay of a first class firefighter. That, as I mentioned, was ultimately in the contract for the fire department. So these amendments make that adjustment to reflect the contract for the fire department. And then there's some other minor adjustments that council has requested for a couple positions, and then a couple that were had been discussed but just didn't make it because they were maybe an hourly and weren't plugged into the percentage increase in the formula and the spreadsheet. So happy to take any questions or would ask for your approval.
Is there any questions for Jacob?
President, I move that we approve ordinance 1370 as presented to us by Jacob.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1370, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I will abstain.
And you'll abstain. Motion carries with one abstention. Next on the agenda is approval of lobbying services agreement with Gregory Drinker, Biddle and Rath LLP. Grant?
Yes, thank you. So this evening before you is a consulting agreement with Gregory Drinker to represent us at the State House. Obviously, we know that session is in this month and there's a lot of work to do. We've put together various bills with Senator Young regarding a couple of different issues, short-term rentals, revenues, et cetera. So Gregory Drinker will represent us and develop a legislative lobbying strategy to get those bills through, which includes everything from communications to who we speak to, what hearings we go to, et cetera. That services will cost $30,000 for the entirety of the session. That is actually less than Catalyst, which we paid last year. The second part of this agreement, and I think I want a motion on both, whether we're doing one or the both. The second is assisting us with an economic development plan for Speedway, which helps us better understand how we receive revenues, what we can do and can't do, not just legislatively, but other ways to increase that revenue. And that will be a fee of $7,500 to provide that discussion, which would be with the council as well as staff. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have regarding this matter.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we approve both portions of the proposal that was provided to us by Fagery Drinker, the $30,000 project, which is representing us to get those bills through, as well as the economic feasibility project of $7,500.
Okay, I've got a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion, a second, so I'll open it up for a discussion. I get a question, Grant, could you, when you mention revenue streams, could you just let the public know what revenue streams?
Kind of what
are
I'm
like?
referring to.
Yeah.
Sure. So one of the things that, because we're a separate municipality from the city of Indianapolis, but we reside in Marion County, their laws kind of govern what revenues we do receive on a per capita basis, or things like alcohol beverage commission, hotel motel tax, food and beverage tax. And some of those taxes we receive nothing. And I know we have put over the past 20 years, the town of Speedway, along with various developers and partners, have invested well over $100 million in infrastructure, acquiring and demolition of properties, all with the intent of increasing the viability of Main Street. All those restaurants that are on Main Street that weren't there before, and probably those that were there probably would have left had things continued down the path. We don't collect any of those revenues that our residents pay and visitors pay. So think about all the folks that come to see the Indianapolis 500, and that revenue is not captured by the town of Speedway. So those are examples. There are other types, but all of those are bound up in legislation. For instance, food and beverage goes to pay off debt associated with Lucas Oil and I believe Gamebridge Fieldhouse, home of the Pacers and the Colts, and we benefit from those, but all those fees are collected. We're asking our lobbyists to work with us and our Senator Mike Young, to figure out what portion of that can be carved off and potentially received by us as revenue. Those dollars could be used to pay police officers, firemen, street employees who do work with IMS during that racing season, as well as marketing and other initiatives and economic development that we could use those dollars for. So I think that's why it's important to have someone representing us. We can't possibly be in every committee meeting and every senator and representative's ear. So having them on our team helps us do that.
I would add to what you just said, in that the town has about $100 million invested in a variety of
Infrastructure
and so on. But then there's another $400,000 to $500,000 that's been invested on top of that. But not just the $100 million that Indianapolis Motor Speedway put in, I think in 2016 for their 100th year celebration, but hundreds of millions from Allison's, Prex Air, and then tens of millions up and down Main Street and now out to the west side of our town. When we're all done with hotels and restaurants and car washes and other really big improvements, we're probably talking another $100 million out there that will have been invested. And we get no revenue from any of the hotel, restaurant, alcohol. We don't have a rental car center in our town, but if we did, we wouldn't get that. We don't get that revenue today either. But we've created all that demand. Property values have gone up, which has actually helped us to keep a fairly flat property tax rate. But yet we get no financial gain from any of those investments we've made in terms of the taxes that those businesses and we as people eating in restaurants, having a beverage, or our families that might come and stay in hotels, or businesses that come and stay in our hotels, none of that revenue comes to the town of Speedway at all. And that we need that money to keep us moving forward and be able to make those investments.
I'll second that, Gary, because the fact is that I can understand the events that take place at Lucas Oil and the events that take place in Maker's Life. But when we have major events at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it's our public safety out there, running the show, and our fire department that responds directly on any calls going out there. So it is important that we're able to recoup the cost that is being directly burden the taxpayer of the town of Speedway. And that's, we're not trying to get any more than that. But I think it's important that we make the effort, because a lot of the state senators and legislators don't realize that we're not getting it. It's one of those things that goes unsaid, and they're not going to change it for sure. Yeah.
And we worked with Catalyst, as you mentioned earlier. We worked with Catalyst the last 2 years to get improvements in our zoning that's bringing benefit to our town, and we need to keep working that. But we haven't really been able to attack this financial piece at all. I'm glad we are, or hopefully will, if we pass this.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
I have one question, probably for Jacob or Grant. The funding for this, do we have money in the budget for this year for this?
There's something in the town manager's budget.
Yeah, there are fundings in my consulting agreements that cover things like this. It wasn't specifically spelled out, but there's monies in there that would pay for this.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the lobbying services agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
What's the vote count?
I think it's 4-0.
4-1.
4-1.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve a request from Marion County Election Board. Grant, would you like to explain that?
Yes, so this is actually our second year acting as a voting center here at our new Speedway Municipal Center. This agreement, we have already filled this out. It has not been submitted yet. If you approve it, and I'm assuming you will approve it, it makes sense to have this type of voting center here for the general and the primary election. The primary is Tuesday, May the 2nd, and general election is Tuesday, November the 7th. So we've approved this in the past. We had a good experience with them being in our building. They were responsible and got with us beforehand to make it seamless and left the place in good condition. So we recommend approval of this so we can go ahead and get this filed and start marketing that here for the primary coming up in a couple of months.
Okay, do I have a motion?
President, I'll move that we approve the request from the Marion County Election Board to identify the SMC as a vote center in the 2023 primary and general elections.
I have a second to the motion.
Second.
And a second, so I'll open it up for discussion.
So will this be ongoing?
It's an annual thing that they reach out to us. My guess is if they don't like our facility, they wouldn't reach out, but they liked it, so they reached back out. And this was about the time they did it last year, January, February.
I would point out, not so much as a question or anything, but I don't know, I wasn't in the building for the primary. I was in the building for the general. And it didn't happen in this room. It happened in the conference room next door, and it was way too small for the size turnout we had. We need to make sure that they know that they can be in this. And I think that
is what
during the general,
that is what they requested.
well, what actually happened, I talked to someone who was actually working that day. There was a meeting there was a committee or some board or group meeting here in this room the Monday night before Election Day. And so when the group came to set up, they set up in that room because they couldn't make access to this room. And
Okay.
This room was definitely better suited for it. That's why they ended up in that room. So.
Okay.
Any other questions for Grant? If not, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of approving the request from Marion County Election Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is, Jacob, approval of claims and utility adjustments.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. President. I have a bit of a curveball for you here tonight. So I use this as a very standard, so our accounting system, we didn't necessarily change software, but at the end of the year, we changed to a different chart of accounts. So our accounting system kind of has a clean break at the end of 2022, and then we're sort of restarting at 2023. So the claims that have been presented to you represent those made from December 10th through December 31st. Usually we go through the Friday preceding a council meeting date, but this time it's going through just the end of the year. Happy to take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
I'll make a motion, we approve the claims as presented.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Are there any questions for Jacob? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Claims are approved 5-0.
The adjustments represent those made from December 10th through January 6th, so the normal date span. A couple of late fee adjustments and a leak adjustment, and would appreciate your approval on those as well.
President, I move that we approve the adjustments as explained by our town clerk treasurer.
Okay, again, the motion and a second. If there's any questions concerning the adjustments for Jacob? Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and approve them as submitted. Call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next up is a report from our department heads. Chief Chuck Cup? I got your gun shy now, right?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Good evening, council. Just wanted to report that earlier today, of course, for those of you that don't know, today's Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And we had a nice visit today with Senator Todd Young. He stopped by and met with myself and officers of the department, and some of the council folks were there today. So we just wanted to show our appreciation for his visit, and it was a nice visit, and we talked about some issues in law enforcement and the community. So our next item is we finally got those 10 vehicles that we ordered back in March. So they did arrive, and we have picked those up, and we'll be working on transitioning those vehicles into the fleet. We are also in the process of, once again, starting a new hiring process. Almost as difficult getting cars as it is good applicants at this point. So we hope to fill that position, and we know we're going to be losing another officer in March to retirement, Officer Mike Marsteller. So we're hoping to get that position filled fairly quickly also. So we do have a reserve swearing in. We have 2 good officers that are going to be joining the reserve division on January the 18th. We'll be doing that at 9:30 in the morning. So we have 2 additional candidates that are going through background right now. And just a quick update, we meet with the flock camera people tomorrow via a Zoom meeting. We're still working on we're looking at the installation date for the license plate reader cameras, probably mid to late February. We'll have a better timetable on that tomorrow when we meet with them. And we will also be beginning our 2023 Indy 500 law enforcement planning meetings here the 1st of February. So just a quick report on our building inspector and their activities. In the month of December for building inspection, there were 21 ordinance violations. They issued 12 verbal warnings, 9 written warnings, 15 public assists, They investigated 9 complaints, and building inspections themselves were 111, and there were 363 site visits. So for code enforcement, there were 10 verbal warnings issued, written warnings, there were 30, citations, 11 were issued, complaints investigated were 60, there were 6 disorderly houses, and there were 20 site visits. So that's all I have.
Great. Is there any questions for Chuck?
Yes, Chief, real quick, just to kind of summarize, head count right now, you say you're down 1?
We are down 1 right now.
Okay, with the second one coming up.
Yes, yes. We're continuing, we're starting this new process with a lateral process, hoping to get another officer that has already been through the academy and has experience. That saves us about 16 weeks with academy. And it's difficult getting folks into the academy at this point just because of the backlog and everybody trying to hire new officers. So if we don't fill that with a lateral process, we'll do an open process and go for applicants that may or may have limited experience. So.
All right, thank you. And then one follow-up question.
Yes.
What is the goal in terms of the reserve force? How many bodies to be fully staffed there?
Well, we're shooting for 5 this year. We would inevitably like to get back to where we were. At one point, we had 20 reserve officers for the department, and inevitably, that's where we would like to get. With bringing new officers on, putting them through the FTO, our field training, that's a tax on our FTO, our training officers. So we're trying to limit that to 5 so we don't overwhelm the field training officers at this point. So, but inevitably, we'd like to get back to those numbers we had a few years ago. So,
Thank you.
I know we made some changes away from CALIA. That's obviously helping the reserve, but
yes.
where are we finding reserves? Retirees from other departments?
We've got one of our candidates that he was a retired police officer. We've also, most of the folks we are considering at this point have experience as previous reserve officers with other departments, or they've got previous law enforcement experience. So.
We're peppering you with questions here, sorry.
Sure.
When do we move to the 12-hour shifts?
We went to 12-hour shifts January the 1st.
We did.
Yes.
I knew we put it in the contract.
Yes. So.
How's that going?
That has, we have not had any issues at this point. The officers are transitioning to that longer day, but it's like speaking with Lieutenant Dine the other day. His first day back was Monday, and then his next day back was Friday. So what it affords us, and it affords the officer, a better work-life balance, because every other weekend they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and they are longer days, but it affords them more time to be off with their family when they're not at work. So.
Okay, thank you.
That's good. Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Cheryl McElroy from Communications.
Good evening. Tonight, instead of giving my typical report, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of the new town website that we rolled out just this past Friday. So give me a minute to get ahead. Yay, it works. Okay, so this is the town site. Now, keep in mind that as we receive feedback, which I've requested from town departments and the community, the site will continue to evolve. We're working out a few broken links and things like that, but it's really fast to update those. So just keep in mind it's a work in progress right now. But the intention of the site was to make it a little more easy-friendly to find information, and also to provide content that was useful to the community and to the town departments. A lot of the content was based off of information or questions we receive on a regular basis. So what we started was we took all the information that was on the original site, migrated it into this site, but we broke it down into 4 categories, which you see at the tabs at the top here, which is information about the town, information that would be applicable to under the government, town services, and how do I. So just taking a quick look at each one of these tabs, if you hover over it, we have items in here like about the town of Speedway. We'll have info in there. We've addressed this. We have a link to the schools, the library, community news that we put out there. Down here we have they're basically quick links. So we have it to different community events. Some different resources in the community. If you click on and on and on, so we have a new page we developed about Get Involved. So it links to the different civic groups that are in town. You click on that, it's just different ways to get involved in the community. To go back to the main page, you always just click the large logo up to the top and it will take you back to the beginning. We get lots of questions on lost pets, so we put that in there. Easy to find. It tells you what to do if you've lost your pet or you found a pet. Again, you can either hit the back button or hit the home link. And under here, we added some things to do in the town of Speedway along with a link to utilities. The next item that we have is government, and we have this broken down into our boards and commissions of the town, the clerk treasurer's office, the departments within the town, a staff directory, and then town council. So just looking at a couple of these under boards and commissions, each one of these is built on the same template. So whether you go to the cable advisory committee or the arts advisory council, it will basically be laid out the same. You'll have a brief description. It'll have any ordinance references, meeting information down here, a way to contact someone, what you want to do if you're interested in being a part of the board or commission, and then members. We're missing a few, so we're still updating some of this. If this particular group has had a meeting and minutes have been posted, they will be posted on the actual page here. Let's see. And the town departments work very similar. If you go to fire department, kind of the same thing. You have just a summary of the things that they do, the services they provide, what their vision and mission is, ways to get in contact with them for other social sites, and then key contact over here. If you'll notice, the quick links over here on the side are all applicable to the department that we're looking at. And again, each one of the different departments, if we look at code enforcement, will be the same way. It will have different information, but it'll be information that's applicable to their department. On town services, this one, these are all links. The three sections are, development services, public safety, and public services. Again, these links can be found on other places on the site, but this was just hopefully an easy way for folks to find things. If you can't find what you're looking for under these tabs, we have a how do I. So you can go in and look for how do I contact the police department. So you click on this and it'll take you to their page. How do I go about applying for a permit? It will take you to the clerk treasurer's office. So it just gives you a little bit of direction. If you can't find what you need here, there's always the search button up here in the corner that you can type in police, and let's see what pulls up. So it'll pull up different results down there. So the search engine that this uses should be a little bit more updated than what we had before, so we're hoping that's useful. Back to the home page. We also have a section here of quick links, and these again are items that we get questions on all the time. The trash calendar, that's a common question. Folks have trouble finding that. That's right there on the home page. So that will take you to that. That shows you all of the heavy trash, the Christmas tree, recycling, all of that. A couple others is payments. That will take you to the payment system that the clerk treasurer's office uses. Whoops, excuse me. We have a new page, careers for our HR department. If you're wanting to know what career opportunities are currently available, we'll start listing right now. There's this one on here. We will start listing them on this page that you can find. But again, this is part of the human resources page, which shows right here. So if you want to go to their main page, you can click that. And that will tell you more information about them and who to contact, which is Nikki Parker. It also has some persistent links on the side that's applicable just to human resources. To the homepage, let's see, again, we have a report an issue, and this is kind of a new feature. I don't know that we had this on the previous site. So if anyone in the community has questions, or they don't know who to contact, or a complaint or a suggestion, this is just a general comment page that I'll be checking regularly. The email comes to a web, or to an email that I check. So that is a new feature. Down here, each time that we send out a press release or a news event or information about an event coming up, it will be posted right here in the center under news and announcements. It will be the top three, the newest three will be right here on the home page, but to find the remaining, you just click View All News. And that takes you to all the information, just as we had before. Everything from the old site, the previous site, was migrated over to this one.
Cheryl, if I could, what were some of the things you were trying to overcome? What were some of the challenges with the previous system that we were using? And
Sure. Well,
its
part of
age?
it, yeah, I think the biggest challenge was trying to find things. So that was the purpose of doing the tabs at the top, trying to put them into common themes or common categories. The other one was not having multiple pages on one topic. So something like the trash calendar, on the previous site, if it was linked in 3 different places, there were 3 different files. So it was easy for that link. 2 of the links might have been updated and the third one wasn't. So that was part of it, was trying to only have things live in one place. You can get to them multiple ways on the site, but there's only 1 file per item. So hopefully it will keep the content more updated. That seemed to be a challenge. In the behind the scenes, some of the information does become outdated just because of time, but we have the capability of setting a date that we can go out and review something that we've put out there. If it's an application that's out only for a certain amount of time, it will still be on the site, but it won't be active necessarily, or we may need to update it. So there's some of those upgrades that we've been able to do with the site.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question,
Yeah,
Gary?
thank you very
Okay,
much.
You're welcome. Just a couple more things. The next part of it is the events. And this is basically the same as it worked before. You can show all the events, you can show just meetings, or you can show just events or everything. Right now, I don't believe that tonight's town council meeting has not been entered, so I think the town meetings are still being updated, but we will be working on that. Here's another feature that we've updated a little bit. So on the previous site, there was an area where you could submit your email, and when there were town alerts or news or event announcements, you would receive an email telling you so. All of those emails, if anyone has signed up for those were also transitioned into this new site. But if not, you can go out and subscribe to those. But we also have the updated feature where you could receive texts that provide the same information. So you would just click on this, enter your phone number, and you receive a text. You can sign up both ways. You don't have to sign up at all, but just another way for us to get information out to you on a timely basis. One of the items that I am working on, I think I'm going to change already. This was based on feedback that I received from one of the businesses here in town. So under About, I have things to do over here. They would like something, this one particular business would like to see something more of like a visitor's bureau. So we actually have a page that shows places to shop, places to eat, places, things to do, places to worship, things like that. So instead of having all of this on this one page, I think I'm probably going to redo that a little bit. Not dedicate a lot to that, but at least have one page that is applicable to visitors as much as it is to residents. That's really about it. Do you have any questions? That was a very quick run through. The best way to get familiar with it, obviously, is going out and using it. And if someone does have information, constructive criticism, or feedback that we just need to know, if there's a link that's broken, or if you want to see something on there that we haven't thought about adding that's going to be helpful, just use the contact form on there and send it in. And we really are making updates already based on the feedback that I'm getting.
That's
So,
great. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah, thank you,
Questions?
Ben. Thank you very
No?
much.
Okay. Thank you.
Nice jacket.
Pardon me?
Said nice jacket.
Thank you. I should have brought sunglasses for you all.
Next up, our Economic Development, Todd Cook.
Thank you. Good evening. Just a quick overview of things that have kept me busy over December and early January. I attended the Indiana Economic Development Association conference, two-day conference in downtown. It's always a good opportunity to network and, make sure I know who the current contacts are with the state, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, and get overviews of their current programs that they're pushing. Workforce development is like the #1 issue in economic development these days. And interestingly enough, childcare is a very popular topic at the last couple of conferences that I've been to. So it's interesting to, hear programs that other communities are putting in place to address, what used to be, mostly focused on incentives and things like that. It's much more these days. Had a couple of inquiries from brokers representing clients, 3 different clients that are looking for locations in Speedway. So hopefully those will continue to evolve and see some new businesses locating here. I think at our last meeting, I gave you an update on the progress we're making with the former Heaven Sent building at 5242 Crawfordsville Road. We got the lease agreement executed with the local artist, Audwin. And he came in, signed the lease, and we did a walkthrough, and he's got some ideas on improving the exterior of the building and things like that. So, and that's all on him. That's not on us. So I think he'll be a really good tenant for that building. We kicked off the Gatewood signage program that we're developing. So that'll start getting some momentum. We kind of had our organizational meeting there last week. Also, I've finally made a contact with Brixmore and hoping to meet with them and kind of get an idea of, what they have in the pipeline with the Speedway Supercenter. So those are a few of the things that have kept me busy over the last month. If you have any questions or comments, happy to take them.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
All right.
Don.
Thank you.
Next up, Fire, Bob Fishburne.
Thank you, Council. Good evening. Happy New Year, all of that good stuff. Just to update you, we have a firefighter that we'll be bringing on the first week of February off of our lateral list. We'll also be bringing a firefighter on at the end of February off of our lateral list, which exhausts that list. We looked at our application over the last couple days, and we'll be starting a traditional process because we've got firefighter retiring in September, Battalion Chief Cheney. So similar to police, just when you think you're set, something happens. We're losing a guy to IFD at the end of the month. That's the second person that we'll be replacing. Jacob and I this year, Grant and I this year are setting up some bi-weekly meetings to do face-to-face, which we had our first one today. Just on a personal level and professional, I think it's going to be good, and I appreciate your invitation to do that. Couple things. I wanted to comment on all the changes with new contracts, with payroll for the whole town. Wanted to commend Jacob's office, especially Sharon. Out of the entire fire department, there was one error on payroll, and it was just an oversight that she actually couldn't change herself without permission from AccuPay, and she's changing that for engineers. So that's, with all that data, that's to be commended, and I don't think we say that enough about Angie and Sharon and those gals. Other than that, we have blood draws at the end of the month for our annual physicals in February, and we're just getting off to 2023. If you don't have any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Next up, Tammy Smith.
Hello.
Hello.
We're winding down our youth basketball. The boys will be ending at the end of this month. It's been going really well. I've got a great group of volunteers, so I've been fortunate about that. And I wanted to thank the Speedway schools again for the use of their facilities. We could not do our parks programming without them, so we're real fortunate that they work with us so well. So I wanted to put that out there. Other than that, I'm looking ahead for this new year and starting to work on the calendar for parks shelter reservations, looking ahead to book the bands for the concerts, updating the application for this year's farmers market. And I believe the Lions Club will be doing their annual pancake breakfast again, and they've asked parks to do the vendor tables again. So I'll be reaching out to the vendors that participated last year. If anybody was interested in being a vendor, they can contact me, email tsmith@speedwayIN.gov with their interest, and if we've got the availability, we'll reach out to them and get them hopefully signed up with us. But other than that, just preparing for the upcoming year.
Fantastic. You're always busy.
Yep.
Seems like. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tammy, how's your staffing going into the spring here?
Well, we have opening in our, grounds. So I know Nikki has put that information out there. So I haven't checked with Mike recently to see what kind of interest we've had. I know there's been a few applications come in and Mike's reached out to them. So I'll have to check with him on.
Is that a full-time opening?
No, it's a seasonal.
Seasonal? Thank you.
Yeah. And it's a rough time frame because it's split shifts and stuff like that.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Keep us posted on that.
I will. Thank you.
Next up, Rob Wednight. How you doing, Rob?
Good, how are you? Good evening, council.
Hadn't seen you for a while, so.
That's been a little bit.
We'll start with the water department. They treated 66 million gallons of water last month. And they're in the process now of updating the telemetry for their tanks and their wells. They're also working on installing new valves around town. They've also obviously had the water main breaks that they've had. Everybody's seen emails on those. And their team's been taking pretty good care of those, getting them done in a timely manner. And some of the bad weather conditions that they have, not all of them sunny and rainbows, So, and they have also been working with Westler on many different projects that they have at the water plant. So that's about it for the water department. The wastewater, they treated 98.7 million gallons of water, and they had a little issues. They had some issues down there with the weather when it was well below zero. They got those rectified pretty quick. And the stormwater quality management plan has been approved by the state, so that's a positive note there as well. And for the street department, we've been obviously the last week or so we've been picking up Christmas trees, patching potholes, but the biggest part of it was the winter weather we had there. It was only 3 days worth of problems, but it took a lot of man hours and a lot of salt. We went through 75 bags of ice melt, this for municipal, Main Street, sidewalks. We went through 82 tons of salt with those freezing temperatures. It's a lot of salt, and 190 man hours and over 300 gallons of fuel. So it's a costly process to take care of these winter weather events, and that takes a big bite out of a budget quick, especially with fuel costs the way they are today. So,
what's a normal winter's usage salt-wise?
We have a contract for 400 tons, but the years that we have good years, we stockpile that. So when we have events like this, we have it on hand to take care of the issues.
And with it being rain first, which really makes it hard to deal with. If it wasn't rain first, we could have used the beet juice and got it out to help with it. But if it's raining, you can't use it, it just washes down the drain. So, and you have to have traffic to activate the salt. Salt doesn't work by itself. It needs traffic to get it to actually work. The brine is actually what melts the snow, not the salt. The salt melts what it is, drove into the ground, turns into a brine. The brine actually melts under layer. We push that off. That's the slush you see. We push that off. So that's how that works. So, and that's about all I have.
Where are you at on staffing, Rob?
We're still looking for the 3 part-times for next year's yard waste, and then, you know, hopefully next year we'll be able to hire 1 more full-time employee to get us back to where we were before. But it is very hard, and Tammy's finding out it's hard to get seasonal help, and it's just a tough task today.
Do you look for college students, Rob?
We've had a few people that have put out, I mean, I know Nikki had done it, a little bit of reaching out. And she's been screening a lot of these before I get them, because you'll get so many that are just not even relevant at all. And so she's been screening, and I haven't seen one applicant come through in 2 months that she said, okay, this one may be a good prospect. And so like now we're not going to even be back to work till April, first full week of April. And we're still trying to get feelers out there, try to get someone in there to do that.
So you're needing a CDL driver and then 2 guys on the back, right?
Class B CDL driver. This is 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 2 individuals on the back of the truck. And it goes through the first week of April to the last week, or the first full week of December. And that's our season. And I believe we have it advertised at $20 an hour for the driver and $18 for the work on the back, the help, the actual laborers. So it's not like we're trying to get them for $12 an hour. We're trying to get them at a reasonable rate. So that's about all I have.
Great.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, have a great day.
Thank you.
Next up, town manager report.
Yeah, I just have a couple of items. Just a reminder that the Speedway Municipal Center, as well as most administrative and town departments, will be closed Monday, the 16th, for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Performance reviews were completed for all town employees in 2021. We wrapped that up in December. I think that was a great process for all of our town employees, set some goals and objectives, then try to work through the year to reach those. If you remember Dry Run Creek, we approved an agreement with Wessler. We are working on finalizing that SOP or standard operating procedure for the maintenance of that area. We'll be reviewing that, I think, on Friday over a Teams call with them, and we'll probably be bringing that to the council the end of the month or into February. For our first resident academy, we'll start in February. I believe February the 7th is the first night. We did receive 28 applications. So we probably will accept all of those. We had set a limit of 25, but 3 more isn't going to hurt. So we'll go through a 5-week process of 5 different session process over about a 2.5-month period of trying to educate those students. I'll call them students because they're trying to learn about the town, but about town operations and how we function and what we do throughout the different departments. So really look forward to that. So that's my report this evening.
Great. Any questions for Grant? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll move on to Councilor Eileen Fisher.
Nothing to report for the beginning of the year.
Councilor David Lindsay.
Nothing to report.
Councilor Gary Rakes.
Nothing new this evening, just other than Happy New Year, everyone.
And Vice President, Councilor Gary Pettigo.
Well, they all stole my thunder. Nothing to report on, but I do want to wish everybody a Happy New Year.
I'll move on to Council President's report. I want to thank the police Todd Young came in today, but I think this community thanks the police department and our fire department for the public safety jobs that they do, and try to recognize them when we see them out there in pouring rain and having to deal with accidents. That's deserved praise for those guys that are out there and putting it on the line. I think it also, there's a lot of individuals within our town government that does a lot of work, and this job really doesn't function without those volunteers that aid us in several different ways. And it might not seem important, but it all works together to make this town work and operate, function at a higher level. I think we got a lot to be proud of in the town of Speedway, and we got a lot to be proud of moving forward and continue with the development that this town has taken over in the last 20 years. So I look forward to 2023, and I want to wish everybody a happy new year moving forward. That's all I have. There's no other comments or questions. It is 8:01. We'll call for adjournment.